stepping left. Don't chase that guy who's running.
In college football, a salary cap is evident. Key aspects of the proposed salary cap: revenue sharing, the proposed settlement that's coming. Schools will have a capital amount they can spend on athletes' compensation, initially set at around $20.5 million. All kind of stipulations, but it's maddening to not be able to just get on Google and find out what the salary cap is, when it's going to start, and how it's going to affect this year's recruiting. Georgia just lost a big #1 player to Miami. Is that the way it's going to go from now on? That's a brave new world. Miami was good once. Why couldn't they be good again? And they also understand it's all about defense. Well, it's not all about defense, but they may have the right track, and now they're getting the top player away from Kirby Smart. More evidence that Georgia is becoming less relevant. It's a big word, relevance. But then again, he may have the top recruiting class. But he's not going to win anything, and everybody knows it. This year, he needs to win. Not just in recruiting, he needs to win ball games. So does every team, and no one's going to have any experience. No one's going to have any experience. Who knows how bad it's going to be? How bad could football be? We're going to find out in 2025. But I don't want to be a negative Nelly. It's just going through changes right now. But I wanted to find out more about the salary cap. Because Kirby keeps losing the big deals. And to Miami's and Southern Cal's and Ohio State's. And he hasn't won a big dollar deal yet. That's something to watch. If you're a Georgia fan, is Georgia still on the path to greatness? Or are they still doing what they need to do? It's a fair question. So not only is it a fair question, it's the question we should be asking. Is Georgia still on track to winning titles like they did in 21 and 22? Isn't that their identity? They keep living off that, but they haven't fed that in 2 years, going on 3 when this one fails to feed. That yeast, that sourdough that was fermenting, was left to get old and crumbly and hard, and went back to cornbread. We had a sourdough batch, but now we can mix up some cornbread. Maybe. Georgia fans are in that little trap where they still feel connected enough to winning titles that made the playoffs last year.
9.
Yeah, you talk about numbers. There's a big number that we can't get rid of until we play, and that number is 51, 51st in total offense last year. We were 30th in defense. That's not where we have been either. So that's not a team that's going forward. That's a team that's regressed. It has become a bad offensive team, not a great one. And you can't call that progress. Sorry. You can call it a lot of things, and believe me, people have tried and people still do. But dropping to 51st in offense is not a good thing for Georgia. And some changes should have been forthcoming, other than most of the players who scored those points probably gone, but the coaches are still there. Not a single major coach changed on a 51st offense or a team contending for national championships. Oh man, I did a video about Iowa, still working on it. Iowa, we'll talk about them a little bit. It might be a good time to segue into that, but I don't want to get into that. Iowa is not an offensive team. It's not a team you should emulate. And if anybody compares your team to Iowa, they are not giving you a compliment. But Georgia looks a lot like Iowa. And they're looking more and more like Iowa every year. And they're not doing anything about it. and it's almost as if they can't, just like they can't in Iowa. And so I did an entire video about the Iowa situation. Kirk Ferentz, very similar to Kirby Smart in the fact that he can do no wrong. He has an iron grip of power at that school, something that's not precedented, really. But I did a video about that, and to sum it up, we don't want to get into the whole Iowa thing. Like I said, if you're interested, you'll see the video show up at some point. But Iowa is the poster child for how not to conduct an offense. However, over the last decade at least, and perhaps beyond, Iowa has been exceptional on defense and special teams. Top 5 in many cases. Very good defense, very, very good special teams. Very, very mid to poor offense. And it's not the same as Georgia in not scoring. They don't score either. Iowa doesn't score, but they don't really run plays to score. They really have a four corners offense, a ball control, eat the clock, and let the defense finish them off. And it works in the Big Ten for 7-8 wins typically. And when they have a good batch, things go well, they can go undefeated. They hardly ever win the Big Ten. I think they have won it. I'd have to look that up. I don't even remember it. I did a whole video on Iowa. They're not a Big Ten power. They're what you call a good mid team, and they represent. They don't get blown out when they do play the power teams. But if you don't have an offense, you have to score to win. But Georgia, coming in at 51st in offense last year, you think it would be like a rallying cry. We've got to fix that. It should be that kind of thing, and we're not getting that at all. In fact, everybody's doubling down that nothing's wrong. We can't let that happen. Mike Bobo is going to get his shot, assuming he finishes the year. But with the way it's structured, and it's not going to change this year or next, really. It's not going to change this year or next. They're not going to fix all these NIL transfer portal issues overnight. I don't think anything's coming down the pipe to fix that overnight. Everybody's going to have young kids every single year, and the coaches that can get them to play in rhythm early, they're going to be the ones who can win. Yes, you'll have to have talent, and we wanted to talk about how it might shape up when the salary cap actually kicks in. And we got some charts we can look at. Hopefully I can pull those up. But, when you have a salary cap, you end up having basically position price rates. Quarterbacks get this, blah, 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 based on the impact of their chances of how much a position group impacts winning. You get paid more for certain positions. So Miami vastly overpaid for what Georgia would typically pay an offensive lineman and lost the #1 recruit. But see, there wasn't a salary cap, so why didn't Georgia go ahead and just get that player? A lot of reasons, and perhaps, we don't know the financial situation. I think all the SEC teams are in kind of like a neutral get-by mode until they get the law of the land established. Certainly would be a reasonable course, but I'm not saying he should have outbid Miami, but at some point, if you're going to win some titles, Mr. Kirby, you're going to have to win some price battles. You're just going to have to. Otherwise, it's back to 2012 for us, even though it is anyway, because we're not scoring with top talent. Now, you're going to keep paying and letting your coaches degrade your performance like you have the last 2 years. Are the fans going to keep paying for it? Are the fans going to keep even worrying about it? Something Georgia needs to think about. And I really hope I can finish that Iowa video, because there is a parallel to Iowa's situation and ours. It has a lot to do with the coaching dynamics, the fact that Kirk Ferentz basically can do no wrong, and he runs that basically not just the football program, but he certainly runs that the way he wants. And he put his son in as coordinator, and it wasn't pretty, but he still did it. And just now they got him out. It took him 3 years to get a coordinator. Who his son was terrible. He was doing what he wanted to do. Kirk Ferentz wanted to be the offensive coordinator himself. He was one of those old school coaches, still is. Doesn't like fancy pants offense. Makes his defense work harder. Sounds a lot like somebody we know.